things to you that have never been done before.
We the people tell the government what to do. It doesn't tell us. We the people are the driver. The government is the car. And we decide where it should go and by what route to do. We the people are free. And I hope we have once again reminded people that man is not free unless government is limited.
Put myself up. There you go. Hello, folks. Technical issues. One or two or three of them. And then a final one that sort of delayed me getting on the air. Thanks to everybody who rang to let me know there was a problem, including Tony, who has said you're all getting very worried. I beg your pardon. I had to reboot everything right as the show started. And I thought I had hit, and I'm bloody sure that I had hit the start the stream button when I had to reboot everything. So I didn't even look at it again when it came back to life and I started doing. So anyway, I've done 20 minutes worth of show already. Where the hell were you? Sorry, we'll start again. I hope you've had a great weekend and the weather in your part of the world is doing marvelous things. There was a lot happening over the weekend and we'll catch up with a bit of that from South Australia's point of view in the near future. The lovely Deb Shippard was first in the house tonight. And we'll catch up with Deb because she caught up with Vince over the weekend at the One Nation Do in South Australia. Aussie Sue, lovely to have you in. Tim, good to have you around, buddy. Tim has been working out new rap songs for me, folks. Well, not for me. He's been writing new rap songs. He's been sending them to me, which is nice, but not my kind of style, dude. But God love you. You're doing great work, I guess, in that field. I'm just not the person to know much about that field, but love your work. You're doing well. G'day, Paul. G'day, Sharon. Gomez is in the house. Bullnuts is in the house. The lovely Judith is in the house. Peter Grace is in the house. Yes, only a little bit of rain. Less than 10 mil, I think he said they've had so far in South Australia, in his part of South Australia at any rate. And Deb Shippard was saying they're hopefully going to get a little bit over their way. Sandy is, I think, somewhere about 12 mil at the Donkey Sanctuary. Now, I do have something for the Donkey Sanctuary just on that. Now, it's not about donkeys. It's about Queenie. Queenie is the sanctuary dog, if you like. Baz and Sandy picked Queenie up. She was in a kill pen at a place in Mackay in 2017 when they happened to go past, and they got her out of there quick, smart, and she has been a wonderful, wonderful dog. Unfortunately, she's 14 years old and has developed a cancerous growth in one of her rear hocks. So it is quite a large size, about an onion in size, thereabouts. They've had tests. There's not a great deal that medical veterinarian skills can do. Their biggest suggestion is bring out the scalpels and chop it off, which is not something that Sandy and Baz are going to countenance. So at the moment, Queenie looks to be in palliative care at home. But if you happen to know a bit of a cure, not necessarily a cure, but a something they could try, then please, by all means, do that. Reach out to me, carl@vofhq.com, or you can reach out to Sandy directly at the Donkey Sanctuary. So that would be lovely. So Gregory has said here, I do not live in a kakistocracy. I live in this body. If a cop asks me where I live and I reply here, if I am not at a certain place, then I am not alive there. Okay. Okay. So what you're saying, Greg, is you don't live in a kakistocracy. I don't know. Are you... I'm a bit confused. I need thinking.
We all live in a kakistocracy, a kakistocracy, a kakistocracy.
I think you're overthinking it. That's what I've been able to come up with in that 8 seconds. Mate, you live wherever the hell you want to live. If you don't want to wear a shirt that says we all live in a kakistocracy, don't buy one. It's pretty simple. But yeah, I understand what you're getting at, but it sort of moves away from the whole idea of having a shirt that says something funny on it. Rachel's in the house from lovely Tasmania. Rachel's making a request for no political show or a show with no politics in it. I don't know. The waving wonder is materialized in the background.
Yeah, hi. Sorry, I can give you a few minutes, mate, if you want to take that from political
okay,
viewpoint from after that
okay, let's
request.
do that. Well, we're gonna. Well, our no politics show won't be tonight for Rachel then.
Yeah. Well, that would be the case, especially after One Nation's major launch of the SA Party on the weekend.
So explain to us, because you're not meant to be here. You've actually got another meeting you're meant to be at. So I'm going to jump around in my show and come to you because I know you're going to shoot off on me at any stage.
Sorry,
Tell me about what happened Saturday night.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great photo. Where'd you get that from? I'm somewhere in the back holding up a camera.
You weren't the only person I can, I have scoured that photo looking for you, and I think I see the top of your head down the back right-hand corner a bit, but.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure exactly where I am in that photo. I can't even see myself. It was I mean, the room was packed. It was noisy. There was lots going on. Interviews done by Channel 7, which I've got a bit of a behind-the-scenes take of as they were doing that. What we found there were heaps of people from every walk of life. We had Scottish, we had Indian, we had, just everywhere. So it was a really, really good event. And there's about an hour's long speech that we'll be putting up on Freedom Broadcasting Network, which is the full speeches from all of them. So,
I wanted to say
very
speeches.
Interesting stuff in that. Sorry?
Barnaby, I imagine Pauline had a few words to say, and Corey.
They all did, all four.
Yep.
Malcolm Roberts, and as I said, it went for about an hour. And some of the stuff they said was very interesting, like the fact that they're letting their representatives speak freely. Right? They're not controlling what they're saying. They literally said that in part of the speech.
Okay. So
I thought
let's go through it.
interesting.
There are 11 Senate seats up for grabs in South Australia, and One Nation are going to run 4 people in those seats. And then in the districts for the lower, what I'm assuming you call the lower house in South Australia.
House of Assembly, yep.
Yep, House of Assembly. Well, there are 40 plus?
47.
Candidates.
There are 47 districts, and they have every single seat, somebody running in every single one. And most of them were there on Saturday night.
Well, I think this is Rachel, or Rebecca, I beg your pardon, who I believe is also running with One Nation. She has been putting herself up front and centre there over the weekend. And all power to them all. They should all be doing it. So you were able to catch up with one of them in particular, and you managed to pick up a special guest?
Yes, we did. I will let you take that when I disappear off the channel here in a minute, because I've got to get back to this My Place meeting. It was very hard to get interviews with the noisy and stuff that was around. I did manage to do a lot of networking, and with special help from one of our supporters, which is Deb Shippard. So thank you very much, Deb, for that. You did a wonderful job, and we're going to make you famous a little later. So, but yes, so I've already got a lot of the replies from the One Nation. Now we just hope that other parties will be kind enough to also agree to the interviews that we're looking to set up on the Freedom Broadcasting Network. I do have one Liberal person coming on for my area, so that's an interview that will be happening. Outside of that, it was mainly networking, getting to know the people, putting a face to the name, and then putting a face to us. So hopefully we can get more access in that direction.
Vince, what's the feeling on the streets? And I know that, Mannum isn't known as the largest population centre in South Australia, but your friends, you run into business people all the time with your work. And what's the general feeling? Is One Nation part of the conversation, or is nobody politics?
No, One Nation's definitely part of the conversation. Country folk tend to be a bit more quiet, but they're definitely talking about it. While I was actually in there were people outside of the hotel that weren't involved in the actual thing on Saturday night, and I was talking to them, and they're voting One Nation as well. And they were just at the
So
pub.
these are the supporters outside that weren't to the. This was a ticketed event that you were at, so
Correct.
yeah, you couldn't get in without a ticket. So so they had supporters outside the hotel waiting and chanting.
Not chanting. No, they were just there having a beer, and they'd come along to see what was what, but they weren't ticketed. They weren't able to go in, but they were just there. And yeah, they were happily. They said, "Oh, you're from One Nation." "Oh, yeah, so are we," and started talking and so on and so forth. So yeah.
The figures keep going up in South Australia regarding polling, re-polling at any rate, and there has been a new poll put out in the last 24 hours or so suggesting that One Nation now are ahead on a 3-party preferred, 2-party preferred, anything you like. One Nation are ahead of the vote in South Australia as well, ahead of Labor, way ahead of the Liberals, way ahead of the Nationals, way ahead of the Greens. So One Nation is taking great leaps and bounds. What did you think about being able to maintain that momentum then? I mean, federally, One Nation is a very different beast to a state-based One Nation. So what are your thoughts?
There's people saying that we're going to be looking at a Labor whitewash, where they're probably going to get just about every single seat in the House of Assembly. And I'd really hate to see a government like that. I think that's a really bad idea, but that's what some people say. I'm not so sure that that's going to be the case. I do think there's going to be education needed for preferences, but I think if there's a lot of South Australians are starting to turn around on this. So whether they win seats in the House of Assembly, I don't know, but the Legislative House, I think they could win 2 or 3 Senate seats with fairly decent ease. But that's just a thought. I'd like to see them win. I'd like to see we have an opposition in the lower house that is not just all Labor and a side trench of Labor, so independents or One Nation, even a couple of Libs. We need to have something sitting in that lower house. If we don't, I think South Australians will have done themselves an injustice.
I get the feeling that the South Australian Liberal Party is about as useful as the Victorian Liberal Party has been for the last 10 years. Would I be right in saying that?
State-wise, yes, I believe so.
Yeah, so they're not like essentially the Liberals, Nationals are in this position because they haven't been any kind of an opposition.
Yeah, I honestly don't see how Labor is getting so many votes, considering personally, this is only my personal opinion. This is not an FBN. We're not taking sides here, but my personal opinion is they've done an absolute crack shit job. And some of the legislation they've brought out over the last 4 years is atrocious. Absolutely atrocious.
Yeah. It destroys people's freedoms on so many levels, particularly under their Emergency Powers Act, where they can come on, they can take your land off you, they can take your house off you and give you nothing. So, no, decidedly rude. All right, well, look, I know you've got to go and head off to this other meeting, so we'll play your interview. And just tell us, who was the One Nation candidate that you caught up with, and which area of South Australia does he come from?
Okay, so it was Brenton that I caught up with. He's from Flinders. He was the one I actually managed to put him aside. And sorry for the pitiful sound recordings, but we were fighting against a whole heap of music that was playing in the background. So Brenton's from Flinders. He does the Flinders area district. He's an accountant, so we've got somebody who can do the books. That's a start. Right?
Yeah.
This is why
at least knows what he's looking at.
Yeah. And we'll hopefully have him back on for another interview. But he is actually from the area that Deb Shippard lives in. So she actually managed to catch up with her own One Nation candidate. And so I thought, and he was kind enough to quickly do that for us in amongst the chaos that was called Saturday night. It was organized chaos, but it was still chaos. There were people everywhere, as you saw from those photos. So
yeah. And it's the first time you've been to one of those sorts of events, and I've been to a lot.
It was a learning lesson for me, and then some.
Yeah, there's no point in trying to set you up for how you can approach trying to get interviews at these sorts of events. You've just got to go see how they work, and then figure out how you can slide in. That's about how it works.
Yep, agreed.
Yeah. All right, mate. Well, thank you very much, and you go forth and do your thing for my place, and we'll catch up with Brenton from South Australia's One Nation and the lovely Deb Shippard. Cheers, mate.
Hi, everybody. It's Vince Panel from Freedom Broadcasting Networking. Speaking now with Brenton from the Flinders district, and also one of our followers, the lovely Deb. So she's doing the wave. So, Brenton, you're the One Nation candidate for Flinders area. Can I ask, what do you do for a profession?
So I'm an accountant as a profession. I've been an accountant for about the last 15 years.
Okay, and what made you decide to run for this election as a One Nation candidate?
So I've been a Liberal voter for about pretty much as long as I can remember. But after the last 6 to 12 months of the Liberals actually not being in opposition, I've decided someone's got to put their hand up, and looking for the One Nation, I decided to put my hand up and run with One Nation.
Was that due to their policies and procedures, or is it due to the fact that we have a big uni party that's not doing right for the country? Which one would that be?
So to start with, it was the policies that got me on board, and then the fact that Liberals and the Labours have become a uni party. We need to break it up.
Thank you for that. So, Deb, you're the one who introduced me, and you just collared him in the party, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. Called Vince's little assistant.
Yeah, she just came along and we met at the door, and she said, and ever since then she's been running around doing networking for me. So everybody from the party, from our group, this is the actual Deb Shippard you see on our chats. So, Brenton, I wish you the best of luck in what's going forward, and you're going to have a very busy time. Hopefully we can get you on for another interview with the standard 16 questions.
No worries. Thank you very much for having me.
Not a bad effort from Vincenzo, and yes, we've got to get him a little bit of microphone technique and maybe to focus the camera in the right direction occasionally. But outside of that, framing is not everything, but it'll do. It'll do. I saw this today. I thought it was bloody hilarious. Moving to England because Trump won. That's Ellen DeGeneres and the girlfriend driving out of town. And then what did they say? Oh, something about being on the Epstein client list. I think that there is a lot of names on the Epstein client list. This is one of them. That is supposedly Ghislaine Maxwell. Do you think that's Ghislaine Maxwell, or is that woman the same as that woman? Is that woman the same as this woman? There are a lot of questions about who is Ghislaine Maxwell, and is the woman that is currently behind bars in whatever state in the USA actually Ghislaine Maxwell? Because this woman is the one, I believe, that fronted up to address Congress the other day and then took the fifth and refused to say anything at all. Doesn't look like the Ghislaine Maxwell I know or have seen in previous times, if you know what I mean. Now, don't usually talk about dickheads on the roads this early in the morning or this early in the show. However, I want to show you this because it is quite shocking. Now, this happened in Chile, or Chile. This is an LPG tanker that has rolled, and that is the gas escaping from the tanker. Now, 4 people were killed through exposure to the gas. I am led to believe that... Whoops. Look at this. And you see this. Oh, God. Keeps jumping around all over the place. One of these turns into a fireball where the whole thing is ignited. So a very, very disturbing scene for those people who were involved. And clearly problem traveling LPG. How many of those LPG trucks do you see on our roads every day? And I'm going to speak about something else just off the cuff, which has to do with our transport industry, but sort of in a weird and wonderful way. Now, who knew that I would learn so much about transporting cattle today? And I have Pete from Pinaroo to thank for this. Now, I'm going to tell you a little story. I'm not going to mention names. I'm not going to mention studs. What I am going to say is that very recently, a $230,000 bull was bought and paid for out of a stud in South Australia, and he was heading to a stud in Queensland. This is an Angus bull. I'll say it again, $230,000 worth of Angus prime stud bull. Now, never really dawned on me, what do you do when you buy a bull in South Australia and you've got to get it to your property in Queensland? And it turns out many people smarter than me have thought about it previously, and that there are in various parts of Australia pens, yards, where cattle can be taken, left, and then picked up by another truck and forwarded on their onward journey. And that is exactly what happened with this $230,000 stud Angus bull. He was picked up from his home in South Australia and driven, I imagine, in great comfort with his balls tightly packed in whatever they need to be packed in so you don't damage them. And he gets sent to Yass, where he's put into a pen all by himself and is awaiting the truck that is going to take him from Yass in New South Wales up to his new home at the stud somewhere in Queensland. Enter Rajit. I say that because I don't know the guy's real name. I just know where he came from. Now, we've spoken about subcontinent truck drivers here on more than one occasion, and it seems now that many of these new to Australia truck driving contractors have decided that they've missed out so far, and now they want in on the live cattle or livestock transport business. It's a very dangerous job moving livestock, by the way, folks. Your load keeps moving, and there are very strict regulations about, how the animals have got to be treated and how long they can be on the trucks, and all sorts of very strict regulations. Anyway, Rajit has turned up at the Yass sale yards and picked up a large number of cows, salient point, cows, and loaded them on his truck, and then saw this bull over to one side in a pen by himself and thought, oh, he must have got out. So went and got that bull and put that bull on the truck with the 200 cows and drove them to the destination. That destination was an abattoir. But that's okay. In this country, every one of our animals, when they're born, is tagged. The Department of Agriculture knows all about it from the moment they are born, and they get a passport. So if the cow or the bull or the sheep or the pig or whatever it is on your property, livestock-wise, is going off your property and going to somewhere else, it needs a passport, a stock passport. And this, in turn, is meant to be checked at the abattoirs whenever they get a bunch of cows in, because every cow has these big tags in its ear where it's pretty easy to decipher, or a barcode these days. They have barcodes. Scan them. All the information is right there. Who owns it, where it is, what it does, all that sort of stuff. Well, we know that the Australian abattoirs are having a bit of a process problem. They have no problems processing meat, absolutely none at all. They do have a process problem in what they should be checking before they cut the heads off the animals. Because apparently that's exactly what they did. They cut the head of a $230,000 stud bull and then checked the ear tag. Can you imagine why we might have a rustling problem still in this country? I mean, let's go past the stupidity of a truck driver who loads up a beast who's not even on his manifest. Let's go beyond that. Let's go beyond the fact that that truck driver or the truck driver's company and probably someone else in the chain are going to be liable for that $230,000. In fact, I'm aware that the price is closer to $300,000 to settle this, given the amount of trucking and movement and angst and everything else that's been involved. Now, it's exposed a couple of big issues in our livestock industry to begin with. I guess in the livestock industry, using the cowboy analogy as for drivers is not necessarily a bad thing, but you really don't want them. And these new drivers that are coming into this country do not understand what's going on. They can't obviously tell the difference between one pen and another. They can't read the documentation that they have, or they don't read it. They either can't read it or they don't. And be that as it may, for me, the biggest concern is the abattoir. Now, the abattoir is the last hope anybody has, any farmer has, of recovering rustled cattle or rustled livestock, stolen livestock. Now, I know of a lady up near Gympie in Queensland who'd invested somewhere around $300,000 in cattle, and they were getting ready to offer a bit of return. Some of that would have been beef. She was breeding some of them. And overnight, I think it was 47, basically the entire herd, gone. Taken off her property and disappeared until she did some tracking down. Now, there is a livestock police group, if you like, who are meant to investigate this sort of stuff, but I don't know what they do other than possibly maybe just take kickbacks from the people they should be actually investigating, because they're the people who should be investigating the abattoirs who are not checking the tag numbers on the ears of the beasts as they come through. Now, this particular lady and her daughter traveled what would be close to 5 hours south of where she lived to an abattoir in Warwick in Queensland. And what did they find in a bucket? All bar, I think, 13. Oh, no, it was less than that. Might have been less than 10 of her herd ear tags. All of them been cut off. The ears are thrown in a bucket. She goes there and says, well, what are you doing? Oh, well, not our fault. The abattoir does nothing. They make a report. Oh, these are the people we got them from. Nobody investigates it. I believe that the rustling that goes on in far north Queensland is far worse than what happens in southeast Queensland. I also understand that one of the fastest ways for these rustlers to make a profit is to steal your cows off your property tonight and have them into a feedlot at an abattoir in the next 2 days. And it might take a little longer than that because maybe they don't want to put them in a feedlot in the same state as they stole them out of. And a lot of this happens in sale yards that are on border areas. So in Queensland's case, beasts that are stolen out of Queensland quite often get put through New South Wales abattoirs and vice versa. Something has to be done about this. This lady had no way of getting any recompense for the $300,000 she'd invested in her herd and had it stolen by a bunch of thieves. Wouldn't we love to find them on a dark, rainy night somewhere? But that's another story. So if you know people who are in this game, folks, please, I'd like to learn more about it, because I seriously do not believe that our livestock industry is safe if at the end of the day we have abattoirs that don't really care where the meat comes from. Oops, Why does that sound familiar? And if you're wondering why does it sound familiar, ask yourself, if they're not fussy about where the meat comes from, are they really fussy about what the meat is? Could be anything, couldn't it? I do believe it could. I do believe it could. All right, there's a couple of other things that I was going to mention, but I think the big thing that I wanted to touch on tonight, and Vince and I are going to have a conversation over the next day or so about how we can make this a something that you can participate in and that we can put up on the VOFHQ website, and we can get a little bit of an idea of where you are. It'll be a thing you can download, and you'll be able to show that to other people and ask them 40 questions. Well, you may not want to ask them 40, but oops, wrong one. This is the 40 question document that I am referring to. Now, this document, I believe, has the ability to allow many of us a bit of a gauge as to how deeply the normies in our world are, well, embedded, I guess. There are 40 questions here, and I've answered all 40 of them. I'll go through a few here, and let's see how you go. Number one is the climate change hoax. Now, these are yes, no, or question mark answers. Yes, no, and I don't know. So yes, no, question mark answers. Pardon me. There are no wrong answers, unless you get 40 of them. Sorry. There are no wrong answers. All right. Number one, climate change is a hoax. Dinosaurs are a hoax. Number two, the earth is flat and motionless. Number three, vaccines are harmful. Number five, the medical system is fraudulent. Number 28, pesticides are a lead cause to the nation's cancer crisis. 25, false flag events are real. 23, naturopathic doctors are being murdered. Number 31, MK Ultra mind control is real. Number 36, there are multiple cures to cancer already discovered. Number 16, airport X-ray scanners are carcinogenic. Number 21, all wars benefit top elite. How do you think we're going so far? Now, I would love to be able to go through this. In fact, we probably could, but I'm not going to be able to get your results unless you count them down. But is that something you want to do? Do you want to do a little survey and post it up in the chat? I would love to see what your number is. So bugger it. We will go through from the very top. Get a pen. All right. I'll give you time. Get a pen and a bit of paper. All right. Go and get that sorted. You may, all you're going to need is a little bit of paper this wide, because you're just going to put Y for yes, N for no, question mark for I don't know. If you want to put 1 to 40 down as the questions, you can, but really there's only going to be 40 of them. So if you've got 40 answers, you don't necessarily need to know that there is what number it is. Do them on a different line. All right, let's do this. And I want you to count them up. I'll tell you at the end of this what my score was. And I want you to count them up, and I want you to put them in the comments, leave them in the chat, the live chat. But especially if you're watching this show later, please leave them in the comments, because I'm really interested to know. And like I say, there is no right or wrong side here. Number one, climate change is a hoax. Yes, no, or question mark. Number two, dinosaurs are a hoax. Yes, no, question mark. The earth is flat and motionless. Number three, yes, no, question mark. Vaccines are harmful. Yes, no, question mark. Number five, the medical system is fraudulent. Yes, no? Probably more yes. I can put these up again. Number six, our food sources are being systematically poisoned. Yes, no, question mark. Number seven, GMOs are not safe. That is genetically modified foods. Number eight, TV has brainwashed the masses. Number nine, politics are or is an illusion. Number 10, Project Bluebeam. Number 11, many of Hollywood actresses are male. Number 12, elites, royals, and political figures are involved in a massive pedophile ring. Number 13, geoengineering is happening. Number 14, fluoride and chlorine in our water. Sources are they're toxic to the human body. Yes, no, or question mark. Number 15, caffeine consumption has many negative health outcomes. Number 16, airport X-ray scanners are carcinogenic. Yes, no, question mark. Number 17, ultrasounds are harmful to the baby. Yes, no, question mark. Number 18, sunblock. Many shampoos and various lotions are loaded with toxins. Number 19, Hollywood films have a direct agenda. Number 20, 9/11 was an inside job. Number 21, all wars benefit the top elite. And number 22, the NWO is directly related to the UN. Now, for those of you that are latecomers, this is a 40-question test that should, at the end of it, give you a little bit of an idea, judging by the answers out of 40, just how involved in the rabbit hole business the people who do the test are. Number 23, naturopathic doctors are being murdered. Number 24, top elites are cannibals. Number 25, false flag events are real. Number 26, the school system is an indoctrination tool of the elites. Number 27, transgenderism stems from opposite sex DNA found in vaccines. Yes, no, or question mark. Number 28, pesticides are a lead cause in the nation's cancer crisis. Number 29, NASA was established using the expertise of Nazi scientists after World War II. Yes, no, or question mark. Both world wars had alternative motives that were accomplished. Yes, no, question mark. Number 31, MK Ultra mind control is real. Number 32, birth control causes abortion. 32, birth control causes abortion. Yes, no, question mark. Number 33, the Federal Reserve is privately owned and controls the USA and world banking systems. Number 34, Monsanto is fully corrupt. Yes, no, question mark. Number 35, taxation is theft. Number 36, there are multiple cures to cancer already discovered. Number 37, science has become a religion. Number 38, FEMA camps exist. Number 39, nuclear weapons are a hoax. And number 40, yes, no, or question marks, elites are staging a false flag alien invasion. All right, there are the 40 questions. I guess you could call them tinfoil hat questions or rabbit hole questionnaire or whatever you want to call it. But I would be very interested in your scores. So I hope you are madly tallying up your yeses at the moment. Leave your no's and your question marks out and just post up the number of yeses that you got. And I will jump into the chat and see whether or not anybody has got down to that yet. Or even if any of you are listening, you're all in there having your own conversations usually. So Silver Fox, you are a legend. Very good. Oh, look, Sandy's at 38. That's brilliant. Deb's at 34. Tony's at 37. Yes or no, 3. I don't know what that means. 37 yes, 7 no, 3 question mark. Get that right. 36, Sunflower. You and I are on the same page, baby. I got 36 as well. Tassie Devil pulled 37. Joanna pulled 38. We've got a couple of winners here. Angela and Jim have both pulled 40 from 40. Daniel, 3 no, 2 question marks, and all the rest are yes. Yeah, well, that sort of puts you around the same place as Sunflower and I, mate, thereabouts. Frank, I failed. Sorry, dude. Beautiful. Well, there you go. Who says? Well, people may say a lot of things. What that tells me is I think there's only one. Oh, look, there we go. Duckman's in there with a 26. That means we've got a little bit more work to do on you, brother. That's all that means. I would be interested, I guess, where it gets interesting, I beg your pardon, especially for the Duckman, are the 14, of the 14 questions, what are no and what are question marks? Because if, let's say, 13 of them are question marks, there's area to move. But if there are 13 of them that are no's, then it's a much harder ask for us to convince. You need more evidence to be convinced. But not having to go at 26, that's a hell of a lot better than, well, you could take this test, and I will ask Vince to, in fact, I'll email it to him, and I'll ask him to post it up on vofhq.com. You'll be able to download it and go and play it to your friends. Ask the question. What Vince and I haven't quite figured out yet is the scale of awareness, because, well, we didn't quite get that far. So broadly speaking, if you were to score 1 to 10 in this test, we would suggest that you are a zombie and are extremely well programmed and are unlikely to be able to be deprogrammed. If you have scored between 10 and 20, we hold some hope for deprogramming you, but if the shooting starts, you'll be the first ones fed to the zombies. If you rate somewhere between 20 and 30, there is significant hope for you. You have been down enough rabbit holes to give you pause for thought, and you have seen enough to make you, or should have seen enough by now, to make you question just about everything that you believe, even if there is a level of cognitive dissonance that's still to it. Now, 30 to 35, you guys pretty well on it. Pretty well on it. I would say 30 to 38 are all about, pretty similar. It's just the depth of the shit we've waded through that changes. We've all waded through the same sort of shit. And for those people who have blitzed it with 40 out of 40, well, I too would be interested in some of the answers to some of the questions and how you agreed or came up, what evidence you've got to support some of those questions, because I don't think some of them are actually supportable in evidence. But that's the fun part about doing this little thing, isn't it? So we all, broadly speaking, are sitting in the 30s and, the reasonably high, mid to high 30s. Congratulations to you all. Now, go out and wake a few more up. Could you have that conversation with the people that you know in your sphere of influence? Could you know how they'll react if you put this down in at a coffee day or a little lunch chat or something? Instead of book club this week, ladies and gents, we're going to discuss this. Now, there's no point going into one of our groups and fronting it up, because you're going to find a lot of people scoring high 30s and, not going to help anybody there. What you need to do is go and find the group that score 10 to 20, 10 to 25. The ones that are at 10 are still going to be very hard to convince. You have to remember that. Very hard. But I find this an extremely useful illustrative tool and a great conversation starter. I might figure out a way that we can get that printed out and put on a shirt so that it's easily readable, or put on a mug. 40 questions to see how deep down the rabbit hole you go. And people might be surprised. it also has a way of opening up conversations, which I think is a good thing. Toxic, you only hang around with like-minded people. I think, if I'm honest, I think most of us are like that now, aren't we? It's only by pure chance, and it's a more like a novelty when we run into someone that is so vehemently dead set against everything that we may have researched and hold dear. They become a novelty these days. I'm not sure if that's because there's less of them out there, or they're just less inclined to embarrass themselves in public these days, because a lot of people carry cameras around, and a lot of people like you and many others sitting in the chat are extremely well versed in what's going on in the world and can argue the points very strongly. Whereas these Muppets who want to argue against us in most cases have no arguments. They just have the ability to do a bit of name calling. So please do a V-neck shirt. Vince is currently working on shirts. Now, that's a V-neck without a collar, I'm guessing. Can I ask that question? Because I'm no fashionista. We've been using unisex shirts, but there are some lovely female shirts that I think have V-necks on them. I will go and have a look after the show. And for you, Sunflower, we will make sure that there is something happening. Now, speaking of shirts and that sort of thing, we have had some magnificent designs thrown forward for our cruise shirt. So, folks, if you have an idea for a Voice of Freedom cruise shirt, 4th to the 8th of May, Brisbane, Airlie Beach, Brisbane, send them through to me, Carl, at vofhq.com, and Vince and I will be making a decision on them very soon. Got to say, Beckio from Truth Seekers has put together a couple of really, really good ones. I've got one that I really like too. It'll only work on black, but it's very nautical, put it that way. And there are a couple that are a bit bawdy, which I love, but I don't want to present somebody with a shirt they may well be offended. So I'm wearing, so I won't do that. We'll keep it as clean as. Sunflower, yes. All right, we will look for a V-neck for you, and we will sort it. Vince has all the design skills in the family. He has been showing me what to do, and I think I put together one of the stubby holders, so we've done okay there. What else is going on in the chat? Silver looks like it's on the rise. Yes, we should have a bit of a talk about that. No, Crunch, I didn't hear about that venue in Canberra being hit by the new space. If you could let me know what venue that is, I'd be very interested. So, Robert, silver looks like it is on the rise. Yes, I do tend to agree with you. Most of the day today, and in fact, I can share this a little bit. Okay, so here is the graph for today. Now, it started the morning at 9 o'clock, Queensland time, 10 o'clock, the bell rang at $119. It's jumped up to a little over $124 today and is maintaining a pretty solid $121, $122 base. Now, China doesn't open up again until tomorrow. It is the last day of their Chinese New Year celebrations, and today, I guess, is the last day and night of New York trading as we know it. New York will open, if it hasn't already, very shortly, and you will see, I think, a bit of a drop in the price when New York opens. They're going to try and force that down as low as they can for the next few days. Why are they going to try and do that? Well, they've got margin calls to make, and they have delivery calls that they have to make. At the moment, the COMEX is showing over 100 million ounces in their vaults, but there are millions of ounces being taken out of those vaults on a daily basis by nervous investors who don't want to trade the paper in futures anymore. they want to hold the physical product. And that's where the COMEX and all those people dealing in it are going to come unstuck this week, because the demands on a COMEX that has maybe 100 million ounces in it, the demands on that 100 million ounces are 290 million ounces. That means they're 190 million ounces short. Global production is 850 tons a year. They are never going to be able to make up that difference. And therefore, the traders are going to have to cry force majeure at some stage this week, I believe. And it's going to be nasty for the futures traders, who will only get paid out on the spot price. The spread will widen again once China starts trading, and that's going to really play a significant role come the end of this month, because if China happens to hold, and at the moment I believe there are something like 68,000 shorts contracts for 5,000 ounces per. Actually, no, you can do the math. There's 290 million ounces required. Divide that by 5,000 ounces. That'll tell you how many contracts there are. Now, some of the contracts have been rolled forward until May, some of the bigger ones. And by rolling forward, it means they don't require delivery and they don't require a payout either way. They're leaving it to go until May. They've gone long. But the ones who can't afford to go long and have bet that the price of silver is going to go down by the end of February are now desperately trying to force that price of silver down before the 27th and the 28th, when they will have to deliver the physical silver demanded by their clients in the COMEX. And they're not going to be able to. They're going to write them a check for the spot price and say, sorry about that. They're going to rewrite the rules, and they're going to cheat people out of their money. But if you hold the physical silver, you can't be cheated out of anything. This is just a paper game for paper players who've been playing it very, very well for the last 50, 60, 70 years, rorting we the people. So don't feel sorry for those traders that are going to lose everything in this, we hope. Don't feel sorry. The bastards did it to us, and they would do it to us again in a heartbeat. And listen, if you actually want to see evidence of how they did it to us, you see that big spike up there and this big great plunge down here? That's the last time they colluded together and took the price from $169 thereabouts and dropped it inside 10 hours down to 117, and then over the next few days dropped it lower down to 106, and eventually the low point where it hit $100. And now it started to build again. You can see the evidences of these little drops here. This happens when the market forces its paper into the system, and those big green candles that you see, which we've been looking at here today, predominantly, these ones here, a little bit of a drop earlier, but now it looks on the build again. Well, keep an eye on those, folks. I mean, it's not physical, it's not financial advice that I'm giving you. We all know you'd be mad to follow my advice. But if I had the wherewithal, and you know they always say buy silver in the dip, I would suggest to you that we're not likely to see silver get this cheap again, even with a spread between the spot price of, what is it, about 123, 122. So, yeah, Ainsley spot at the moment is $122.15. But if you were to go and buy an Ainsley bullion Skippy, 1 ounce Skippy from the Perth Mint, $154.79. So you're looking at a $32 split. That's a big difference, folks, in what the market tells you paper silver is worth versus what the physical market tells you physical silver is worth. And I have seen more stories in the last 24 hours of everything going to 500 US an ounce. But I haven't seen dates with that, and I wouldn't expect that anytime soon. You will no doubt remember that I made some pretty big boasts in December and January, that what I'd heard was that the price of silver could go to 200 US dollars an ounce by the end of February. Well, I'd say now that is unlikely, but not out of the question. It could certainly get to close, very close, given that we've seen huge jumps. And it really all does depend on what happens with China when it comes alive again tomorrow, because they're going to start buying, folks, and they're going to keep buying. So I don't know how long they'll keep buying for, but they're definitely going to keep buying. New problem, says Crunch. The price of oil is going up straight. Yeah. So they say the Straits of Hormuz are blocked. Now, the story was that Russia, China, and Iran blocked the Straits of Hormuz because they were doing a exercise involving their three navies, and they were live firing weapons, which meant it wasn't a very nice place for them to be. But I don't have the app on this computer, but there is an international or a shipping app where you can track ships, if you like. And you can go to all of those, what would you call them, pinch points in the shipping world, places like the Suez Canal, where ships have got to line up and be given a day and a date to get through. It's pretty similar with the Straits of Hormuz, especially if they're oil tankers going deep down into the sea there. That app showed me that there was no change to normal shipping in the Straits of Hormuz all weekend. So the media propaganda saying that the Straits of Hormuz had been closed by Chinese, Russian, and Iranian gunboats is, as far as I can tell, not terribly truthful. These apps that track ships around the world are very accurate. I mean, very accurate. They're like watching one of the plane tracking apps, you know. And if you've ever done that, you'll see the thousands of planes in the air. Well, it's just the same, only it's for boats. And then you can zoom in and view back a certain amount of time and see exactly what boats transited where and at what time, at what speed, heading in what direction. It's all there. So the Straits of Hormuz are not closed, or at least they weren't over the weekend. They are still going. Crunch, thank you for the email. I'll get to it a little later on tonight. I would be very wary about what mainstream media are telling you about Iran, folks. Iran, I don't think are wanting a war at this juncture. What I'm finding interesting about this whole Iran proposed battle thing is that Israel is desperately quiet. And I find that sly, like a fox. Why is Israel so quiet when Trump has quite clearly positioned the Navy and, I guess, Space Force to do a great deal of the work, and what the Navy and Space Force can't, the Air Force will look after themselves with their stealth bombers. Last time we saw a move made on Iran, it was Israel who started playing a significant role there too. They sent through a number of waves of aircraft that took out anti-radar weapons and, in fact, radar installations. The Russians have now come to the aid of Iran with better systems, better radars, better targeting systems, because Iran has joined the BRICS nations, and they are fighting for a gold and silver standard around the world when it comes to finance and particularly trade. So China and Russia are obviously lead members of the BRICS alliance, and they are not going to let Iran fall over. Is Donald Trump going to take on Russia and China in Iran without Israel's help? No, I don't even know that he'd do it with Israel's help. I don't know that the Russians would be terribly involved in any war there. They would send a bit of old equipment, I dare say. But they're busy doing what they're doing with Ukraine at the moment, which is also just the shit going on in Ukraine at the moment, the lies, that absolute horrifying human comedian Zelensky is now, I think, being treated as a joke by NATO as well. Trump has boxed NATO beautifully. He's suspended any US funding going to NATO. He's got them fighting each other. They're all looking over each other's shoulder to see who's going to line up with Trump first, because the first ones that does will get funding. But what's going on in Ukraine, and particularly a lot of the refugees coming out of Ukraine and going into Germany, is having a huge impact on Germany in particular, but wider Europe as well. So there are countries in Europe that have histories hundreds to thousands of years older than our own, and that history is being lost now, deliberately destroyed by governments who are bringing in people who do not fit. Does that sound familiar? Does it sound like something the Australian government has been doing here for a bloody long time and are taking no notice for? Does it sound like something the Australian government has been doing and is doing now and taking absolutely no responsibility for? Have you seen the lies? I'm sure you have, coming out of any Labor politician's mouth about this cohort of 34 women and children coming from Syria. Is there any doubt that the Labor Party is lying their ass off to you, or at least trying to placate you by saying, well, we haven't offered any help. Yes, we have to give them passports because they're Australian citizens, but beyond that, we've given them no help. Well, why was that Dr. Rifi, the Muslim repatriation specialist out of Sydney, offering a private repatriation service by the sounds of it, having private meetings with Tony Burke? Why is that Dr. Rifi, Tony Burke's highest money raiser in his electorate when it comes to electoral funding? Why is this bloke handed, or one of his associates handed, 34 Australian passports and allowed to get on a plane and go to Syria, a designated country which you are not allowed to go to, so that he, this displaced citizen that lives in Australia now and very clearly has done well for himself, so that he can go into Syria and miraculously present these women and children with their passports and come home to, I don't know whether there would be too much adulation for him. I'm sure he just sees this as the right thing to be doing. It's just not the right thing to be doing to Australians. And he needs to be brought to account on that. From what I am hearing, there is a lot of movement in opposition and liberal ranks particularly to see if this man can be charged because he has been operating a repatriation service, ostensibly a private one, but with, it's alleged, soft government backing. And that soft government backing means arsehole ministers like Tony Burke can ask the public servant whose only job it is to record the meetings that the lying filth minister has. When Tony Burke asks that person to leave the room so that he can have private conversations with Save the Children and those other repatriationists that are involved, doesn't that show you, and shouldn't it show normies, the extent of the corruption, the extent of the lies they're willing to tell? Why do not people understand or see this? Or are we just so apathetic that it's, well, you know, it's just the bloody government. We are apathalia. You know? Apathalia. I should get it right. Because those normies that we try and shake awake every day don't care. But my hope, my belief, my prayers are that there are some out there who still do care, and they will come and join us because they have had enough of this.
We all live in a kakistocracy, a kakistocracy, a kakistocracy.
And on that note, you have yourself a bloody good night. I'm sorry it was so late getting started tonight, but, well, technical problems being what they were, they were. So talk to you again tomorrow. Fingers crossed the silver price keeps going up the way it is. But ride the bull this week, folks. It's going to go up. It's going to go down. And you don't lose anything if you don't sell, all right? And you certainly won't lose anything if you're holding silver. If you're holding those little bits of paper or some bloke on a computer says, yeah, you own this much silver, well, you take the prize away for being the dickhead who isn't on the road this week. Hooroo.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's ride!